Hey everybody, welcome to Screen Crush. I'm Ryan Airy. Avengers Endgame is awesome. It's crowd-pleasing, hilarious, and heartfelt. But it did leave a few unanswered questions. So we asked all of you, our fellow nitpickers, to submit your Endgame plot holes on our channel's community page. So now I'm going to explain or justify several plot holes in Endgame. First, how did Captain Marvel know where to find Tony? Well, since he and Nebula were on the Benatar, the Guardian ship, it's reasonable to think that Rocket had some sort of tracking device on the craft. Hawkeye is wearing an ankle monitor at the start of the movie, meaning he's still on house arrest, while Scott Lang's monitor was removed well before the events of Infinity War. Why did Clint get more prison time than Scott when Scott broke an airplane? I'm going to assume it's partly because Scott was no longer an actual threat without his Ant-Man suit. Also, Clint broke into the Avengers compound and freed Wanda. Thunderbolt Ross would want to see him punished for that. Why did Ant-Man not age when he was in the quantum realm, but Jan Van Dyne did? Well, in the movie, Scott says that time is weird in the quantum realm. And that's really all the explanation you need. This isn't like Narnia, where time progresses at a different fixed time. Janet traveled all through several different aspects of the quantum realm, but Scott probably just sort of hovered in the same place where time moves at one speed. Why can't they go back through the quantum realm and bring back Natasha? Well, they could, but then they'd be taking a Natasha away from her reality. Then, maybe in that reality, she wouldn't have been around to help defeat Thanos. There were also a lot of questions about the film's epic climax. How could Captain America pick up Thor's hammer when he could only move it a little bit in Age of Ultron? Well, I think it's because Steve lived on the run for 2 years without the title of Captain America. This would have humbled him, and humility is how Thor proved he was worthy in the first Thor movie. Cap's plan was to return the stones via the van's quantum tunnel in between a battle, so he asked Captain Marvel to do it. Captain Marvel didn't have a quantum wristband, she had no Pym particles, she didn't even know where to place the stones in time. Well, this wasn't Cap's original plan. Scott had to first get the van working, then he or another hero with the quantum wristband would have gone in. Captain Marvel was just a delivery person getting the stones to the van. Why didn't Thanos use his sword in Infinity War? Well, he didn't need the sword or his armor. He had Infinity Stones. That's why one of the first things he does in Infinity War is strip down to a tank top. Next, after the stones are retrieved, Thanos shows up and destroys the compound. Rhodey is trapped under the debris and he has to escape his suit. However, the next time we see him, he's wearing the suit again for the final battle. Well, first of all, this is actually a different suit from what he was originally wearing. And I feel like there's a deleted scene here. If you look at the Lego toys, there is one setting that shows an array of Iron Man suits. I expect that Rhodey called one of the suits to him and it flew out of this chamber. Why wasn't Gamora dusted? Well, Tony doesn't know who Gamora is.
Who's Gamora? I'll do you one better. Why is Gamora?
He probably ordered the stones to snap away anyone who was on Thanos' side, so Gamora wouldn't have been included. How did Doctor Strange know about the Ravagers? At the end of the movie, Strange teleports the Asgardians, the Wakandans, Howard the Duck, and all of the Ravagers to the final battle. So how would Strange, who had never even heard of Thanos before Infinity War, know about these space pirates?
Thanos is coming. Who?
Well, the answer is, after being resurrected, Peter would have told him, hey, let's go find all my Ravager buddies, they're good in a fight. Next, and this is a good one, why didn't someone use the Time Stone on Tony after he died to reverse his death? Well, maybe there's a couple reasons. Doctor Strange no longer has the Eye of Agamotto. We only ever see him cast time spells while using the eye. So I'm assuming that he couldn't reverse time. But also, if he could have cast a spell, he would have reversed the snap and risked losing the battle. Strange probably saw this outcome in one of the 14 million other possibilities, and they all ended in defeat. Why was Tony the only person who could do the snap? Why couldn't it have been Thor or Captain Marvel? Tony's just a normal human and Thor is a god after all. Well, there just wasn't time for Tony to take the stones, form a new Infinity Gauntlet, and get it to Thor or Captain Marvel. Which leads us into, how did Tony make a new gauntlet for carrying the Infinity Stones, but it was told to us in Infinity War that they required special material and also only dwarves can make it? I've had a theory for a while that, following Black Panther, Wakanda shared some of their technology with Tony Stark. That's how suddenly his armor is composed of nanobots that are very much like the new suit Shuri invents. If that's the case, then the nanobots could also be part vibranium. A fluid vibranium structure would be able to absorb the energy created by the gauntlet, though not as well as Thanos' original glove. Why was Giant Man able to stay big for so long without passing out? In Endgame, Scott stays big for 4 minutes. In Ant-Man and the Wasp, he's big for 6 minutes. So that extra time might have really worn him out. Also, it's plausible that Hank and Janet improved the formula before they were snapped away. Why are Peter's friends the same age at the end of the movie? Because they were all snapped away. Literally every single one of them. Except probably for Hannibal Buress' gym teacher character, who's going to point out that it's really weird to just go back to normal after 5 years like nothing happened.
Thank you, Captain. pretty sure this guy's a war criminal now, but whatever. I have to show these videos. It's required by the state.
Then we had a few questions about the Ancient One. Why does she have the Eye of Agamotto in New York when it was kept in Nepal in Doctor Strange? Well, after the Chitauri invasion, they decided to keep it in a more secure location than New York. Also, the Ancient One might have been planning on using it in case the Avengers failed to stop the invasion. If the Ancient One could see the future, so she knew Strange would be important, why didn't she know why Professor Hulk was there in the first place to retrieve the stone? Well, because the Ancient One was never able to see past her own death.
I've spent so many years peering through time, looking at this exact moment, but I can't see past it.
Here's a good one. Why did the Ancient One know about Doctor Strange but was indifferent to him in his own movie? Well, she wasn't indifferent to him. She pulled a Tyler Durden, made him wait outside, and then immediately started to train him personally.
I never saw your future, only its possibilities.
Why does Rhodey wear full armor when they travel back in time and Tony doesn't? Because Tony's suit is made from nanotech and Rhodey's isn't.
It's nanotech. You like it?
Rhodey also needs his suit to walk. And then we had a lot of questions about time travel. The Avengers did time jump to get the stones. So how do they teleport all over the galaxy? Because space and time are each part of the fabric of the fourth dimension. The quantum realm allows them to move through time, so it would also allow them to move through space, which means that Tony Stark inadvertently created the greatest teleporter in the universe. Why doesn't present-day Nebula die after she kills past Nebula? Because it's impossible to change your own past. The moment the Avengers enter a different era, that era automatically becomes a branch in reality. So 2014 Nebula was a different Nebula. Thanos even says this in the movie. Next, what happened to Mjolnir when Cap took it into the past? He returned it to Thor in 2013. Also, it was a jerk move of Thor to steal it from himself to begin with. I mean, we know how much Thor loves his hammer.
The hammer pulled you off.
I like this one a lot. Why didn't they go back between those 20 days between Thanos' snaps? Well, because they would have been fighting a fully powered Thanos who still had the gauntlet. How does Ant-Man keep growing and shrinking if they're running out of Pym particles? Scott says we only have enough for 2 test runs, and he accidentally hits the button and quickly says 1 test run. That's because it takes a full vial of Pym particles to travel into the quantum realm. So once Scott broke the seal on that vial, he was free to use it to grow and shrink as he saw fit. Here's a good one. How did Thanos bring his ship to the future when his nebula needed the last Pym particles to jump to 2024? The answer is space science. Once Thanos has 1 vial of Pym particles, their technology was probably advanced enough to replicate it. How does Ant-Man survive the explosion when Thanos blows up Avengers HQ? Well, he shrinks. You can even see it in slow motion. Why does Tony need to snap Thanos out of existence and kill himself in the process? Why not just use 1 or 2 stones and kick all their asses the way Thanos does in Infinity War? Well, why take the chance? All of reality's on the line, and like the heroes promised, whatever it takes. And now let's talk about the ending. There were a lot of questions about the ending, especially about Cap returning the stones. Here's one. If it was established that what you do in the past doesn't change the future, how come returning the stones to before they were taken in each specific timeline managed to rectify what had already happened in those timelines? Well, Cap isn't returning the stones to rectify a timeline. He's not trying to reset the time stream. He's returning them so the stones can defend that reality. The Ancient One doesn't say, you can't take the stones because that'll create a time paradox. She says that the stones are needed to stabilize and defend each reality from other dimensions. The Avengers can't fix the changes they've already caused to those realities. No matter what, Loki escapes with the Tesseract, but they can return the stones to prevent future dangers. Next, I want to know why or how all the Infinity Stones are just casually put into a briefcase at the end. If Steve is returning them all to their original points of being taken, shouldn't the Space Stone be put back in the Tesseract? And also, how the hell did they get it out? Well, they got out the Tesseract the same way Ultron removed the Mind Stone, with a laser. And again, returning the stones had nothing to do with preserving the timeline, so the stones could have existed without their containers. But what actually happened is, Steve went to Asgard, explained the situation, and the gods would have helped make new containers for the stones. Now how did he do all this? He's Captain f***ing America. How did Cap do 6 time jumps in 1? They adapted his quantum realm regulator to move through time without having to jump back to our universe first. How did Cap make it back to the current timeline? Well, the Russo brothers confirmed that Steve does create an alternate timeline when he spends his life with Peggy. But they declined to say how he came back to the bench and not through the quantum tunnel. Here's my theory. In that other perfect reality where Steve grew old, his quantum regulator was damaged. Or maybe it wouldn't work because he stayed much longer than he was supposed to. So he reached out to that reality's Tony Stark to help him get back to his own dimension. And finally, how does Steve have the shield when it was broken by Thanos? He had Howard Stark make him a new one. Do you have any other plot holes that need filling? Let me know in the comments below. And if you're new here, please subscribe. For Screen Crush, I'm Ryan Airy.